Hello, everyone. I'm Yorgos. I'm the CEO of 100 Mentors. And I'm the host of the GenAI Summit and the host of this podcast. So today's guest is Alex Marantelos. We're glad to have Alex on the show. Thank you for coming, Alex.
Amazing to be here. Thank you for having me.
Let me share a short intro about Alex. He's the CEO and co-founder of Intryc. Intryc is an AI QA platform for customer support teams. It's already used by companies like Deal and Blueground. The company recently raised a $3.1 million seed round led by Episode 1 and E2 VC with participation from GenAI Catalyst, General Catalyst, and Sequoia Scouts and other notable investors. And before Intryc, Alex led customer success for Northern Europe at Confluent, overseeing over $40 million in ARR. And earlier, he was the first enterprise customer success manager in EMEA for Navan, formerly Trip Actions, helping scale its European presence. So here is Alex. Thank you, Alex, for being on the show. And I want to start with a very typical question. Tell us a bit about Intryc. What is the problem that you solve?
Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, appreciate the intro. Intryc uses AI to automate quality assurance for customer support. And how can I explain that in the simplest terms? You call your bank or any kind of service that you may buy product from, and you may hear that this call is going to be recorded for quality assurance purposes. And we're all kind of like familiar with this statement, but we, including myself, I think we kind of like say, okay, nobody's going to probably do anything about it, maybe. Not because the companies don't want to do that, but it's a very manual process that has been done over the years. In organizations, typically this is an outsourced role. A back office offshore team is tasked with listening to calls or reviewing conversations with customers, and then scoring those conversations based on a set rule book or playbook that an organization has. Now, it takes on average about 15 to 20 minutes to evaluate a single conversation. And as you can imagine, that will require an army of people to do that over a meaningful sample. The effect of that is that probably only up to 1 or 2% of conversations are being ever analyzed by companies. And then you have a massive whole of 98, 99% of actual customer conversations with actual issues never being analyzed for many different reasons, either for customer experience issues or even for compliance issues. Now, fortunately, with the latest advancements in AI, this is a repetitive admin job that can be widely automated to a big extent, and that's what we do. We deploy AI QA agents, if you like, that mimic human behavior. You can use them either as a co-pilot, where it augments human capabilities, or fully automates certain parts of the quality assurance process, and that allows organizations to really scale the reviews and audits of customer conversations that could have compliance or customer experience implications for companies. That is kind of like in a nutshell.
That's a very that's very eloquent, and I would like to know a bit more. We named a couple of customers. Who is the typical user of Intryc? What are do you have a certain size or a certain industry that is more keen on using Intryc?
It's consumer-facing applications that have a large volume of customer support tickets, whether it's calls or tickets or chats. Typically, these are in the retail sector. That could be financial institutions, fintech companies, banks, utilities, insurance companies, credit unions, retailers, travel providers. All of these organizations, they have vast support teams or customer support operations. And this is an old problem, by the way, and all of these companies do have quality assurance operations or functions. The problem is that these are really manual and not scalable, and they end up just being perceived as a mere cost center that is tried, and these companies try to keep those costs as low as possible, but then also limits the effectiveness of ensuring that you have a high quality interaction with your customers. And in terms of the size of the company, obviously the more sizable the company, the more operations they have. So usually we see our ideal customer profile to be on the post-Series A segment of the business.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent. Are there any use cases that you would like to share about how Intryc is beneficial to those companies?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, every organization have their own customer support process that they need the support teams and agents to comply with when interacting with customers. Then it really depends on how what exactly needs to be evaluated. The most common use case looks into the communications criteria and kind of like the soft skills of how an agent is approaching the conversation interaction with clients. And the second and most complex thing that actually is ripe for disruption and automation has to do with operational criteria. These are the ones that look into ticket events, whether the event was triaged in the right way, whether the event had the right tags or macros applied to it, whether it followed the right path within the organization during the resolution time, moving from the customer first reaching out to the right support teams, to the right escalation path, to the right product or engineering teams, distilling those insights and passing it to the relevant teams and taking the right action and solution. And that also involves any agent actions. Typically and historically, these have been really difficult to analyze because it spans across multiple systems within an organization, and a very clear and thorough process needs to be written and evaluated based on that. So these are the two main problems that we're solving for organizations. One is ensuring that the quality of communications is up to standards at scale, and then ensuring that the processes that the teams follow while serving a customer are adherent to what they should be and what the organization has really created.
That's excellent. And I'm guessing you are laser focused on such cases, but I would like to ask about how do you see yourself and Intryc in the next 2 to 5 years?
Yeah, thank you. I think there's a few different stages, and we're operating in a fast evolving market. Even though it's an old problem, there's new challenges and new possibilities that open up. So to begin with, we're working to establish Intryc as the de facto QA tool in the market based on the automation, the AI capabilities that we offer. The second thing is, if you think about it, there is about 20 million agents in the world today. And, these are some kind of like broad numbers, but each agent, let's say they can perform maybe 20 to 30 cases in a day. Then if you do the math, this is in the hundreds of billions of interactions a year across all organizations in the world. This is a wealth of knowledge for every organization. And also, it's a very big surface area for risk for every organization. And I think due to technology limitations over the past few years, organizations have been operating at that high risk, low reward space in ensuring quality. It's kind of like best efforts. We just kind of try to hire the best people and train them as best as we can based on the available data that we have. Now with AI, you can extract all of those insights. You can increase the surface level area of what you analyze, or all of these conversations. You can distill those insights very easily, similar to what you do with GPT. You can go and get a ton of research, and then you can distill summaries, and then you can make informed decisions way faster than you could before. So number one is that we want to establish our tool as a de facto tool for customer support and customer operations teams to do exactly that, get to actionable insights and offer great experiences and new risk conversations as fast as possible with the best and most data available as possible. The next thing that you do is that you look at AI agents now. You don't only have human agents, but I think it's the projected number for 2026 is to have 500 billion conversations a year happening with AI agents. This is phenomenal. Technology is amazing, right? And that is great because, first of all, what people really want is to be heard and for their issues to be resolved on the spot immediately. We don't want to wait on long queues. We don't want to be on the phone for 45 minutes, 1 hour. I think there is going to be a time when we will laugh, knowing that our generation had to stand on a call and wait for 1 hour for somebody to pick it up. I think like 5 years from now, people will say, I can't believe this was the norm, which is fantastic. But the problem that it introduces is that it really pushes up the interactions globally. So that surface area that I mentioned of potential customer experience issues or risk is really increasing. Plus, now you have removed the human from the equation. So you have an AI handling it. It could be an omnipotent, super intelligent AI, but still there are implications as long as it talks to humans. All of these conversations will need to be analyzed, especially now that you don't have a human in the loop to own responsibility. The head of the department will own the responsibility. So they need a tool like Intryc to make sure that all of these communications follow the right path and they have the right compliance levels. And I think this is a huge market. We're talking about 500 billion conversations in 2026, that it's a nascent industry. You can imagine how much that is going to grow over the next 5 to 7 years. And again, we want to be, and I think we're best positioned to be the dominant solution in that industry to capture that market. And then eventually, I think as you collect all of that knowledge, this is the third layer, and I know this is a long-winded answer, but it probably describes the vision in different steps. When you collect all of that intelligence and you become the brain of operations for customer support, because everything is stored within that platform, within Intryc, the knowledge basis, how support should be done, what process should be followed, and then there's a ton of other agentic things that you can do when you have all of that knowledge of how to best interact and serve a customer.
I wish you the best, and I think getting to know you a bit, I feel that you are very capable, you and your team, to play the dominant role in this space, as you put it. And getting towards this part of the conversation, which is more on the inspirational side, we covered a bit, but we covered the value of Intryc and what you're planning to do. So right now, let's see a bit behind the scene. Let's see what's the team. And I want to ask, how do you serve this bold vision? First of all, let's start with your experience as well. What experience led you to, and your team, to co-found Intryc? And then I want to ask about how you met with your co-founders, of course. But
Absolutely.
yeah.
And actually, it's something that I think that I should be writing and speaking more about, and I will. But that's kind of like all I've done over the past 8 to 10 years. I've been supporting customers directly. I've managed big success teams and account management teams. I've handled cases escalations myself over the years. I've helped improve processes. So I've seen the anguish of customers trying to get a simple thing resolved or a more complex thing resolved. I've seen organizations being paralyzed, not being able to understand where the issue comes from and who should address it and how they should fix it permanently. I've worked really hard with great teams, and I think we've all performed heroic actions, always on the name of the customer, to make sure that somebody is not affected by whatever has happened to them during a product experience. Working late nights, truly trying to align people, trying to find data, really trying to understand what was happening. And then I always said, like, what if we had better visibility? What if we could just know where this comes from? What if we could connect the dots, have the patterns, iterate quickly with the product and engineering teams, improve the experiences, give a solution so that the other person at the end of the line, the customer, doesn't anguish and get frustrated and eventually drop the product, or even, have a risk issue, that compliance risk issue that could harm our organization. So that was the first inspiration. The second is that my two co-founders, both brilliant technical co-founders, they worked at very early stages at Revolut, and that was, Revolut is a rocket ship, and they grew really fast to a very big valuation and a huge user base. But with that growth, there is a lot of pains that come. So Dean was heavily involved in building the core banking infrastructure of Revolut, and George was very involved in building the fraud detection and prevention algorithms at Revolut. And they both saw all of these scaling pains. How do we secure transactions? How do we help our operations scale? How do we ensure quality in our operations and preventing fraud in customer communications when we're scaling as an organization like that? So we brought that experience together. We saw the paradigm shift that was happening with AI. We knew that a lot of these admin repetitive tasks are going to be automated eventually with such a technology. And then we immediately decided to take on the market, and we started talking to leaders in the space, understanding the problem, seeing if whatever I had experienced was something that other people experienced, whatever George and Dean had seen in the operational roles, technical operational roles, it was also experienced by other people. And then when we found customers with that hair on fire problem, like the ones that you mentioned are our customers, and there's a huge market out there, then we decided to fully commit, double down on this. We started building the MVP. We closed our first customers, got into YC, and we're building since then and growing.
That's amazing. And you told me about your co-founders, and whenever we talk, you talk very highly of your team, and that's one of the things that lots of people remember when talking with you. That's really admirable.
Thank you.
But
Appreciate
I
it.
would like to also know a bit about how you work with your early customers. How do you work together? How do you set expectations with them? And this is a bit on the earlier days. I know that you have grown your customer base a lot, and you are heading towards maturity very fast. But I think it would be interesting to see how you started your collaborations with your first customers and how you created trust. You build trust, and you set expectations about what value you will deliver with them. How maybe you you built the first contracts, the first paying contracts. Any kind of experience that will help builders out there and all of us to build the right product for our customers.
100% getting tactical here. I like it. Well, first of all, the most important thing is to have the right team. And I appreciate your kind words. It starts with the co-founders, and then we have a stellar team that helps us deliver quality software at scale. And this is important, and it comes from aligning on the values, aligning on the operational rhythm that we have as a business, and the goals that we have in front of us. The second thing is being really honest and direct, and trying to get to the problem before you get to the solution. So the very early customers that we spoke with, we were really trying to understand what KPI that problem is tied to. Who is the owner of the problem? Is there budget for this problem? Is there a very clear pain related to this problem? Like, if this problem is not solved, what's going to happen then? And then this is part of the qualification process that we go for new customers as well. And how do we structure the first contract? Obviously, we did our research in the market. We saw how other tools were pricing. We looked at the total output, value output that this operation or that segment has, in terms of, let's say that we reduce time spent on doing manual evaluations. How does that translate to salary time? Or we reduce the time that a ticket is being resolved. How does that translate into missed revenue or opportunities? These are a bit more difficult to quantify, and then it kind of assumes that the customer really knows well their unit economics and the impact that their services have on their customers. And sometimes it takes time for organizations to share that with you, or to build that trust and to be able to understand those points. But all of these things fed into how we structure our first contracts, how we approached what problem to begin solving for. If I'm to kind of like reduce it to very first principles, I would say find the most difficult hair on fire problem that is costing somebody a lot and they're willing to pay to solve it, and solve just that. And we've made many mistakes, right? We got excited by other adjacent products or sub products. We've iterated a bit, we've played with certain features, but whatever doesn't work, we kill it fast, and then we move on to the next one. But we do have an anchor, we do have a core value and a core pain that we solve, and then we try to expand from that. And it's really important to have those conversations early with the customers, because this is also what builds trust. And then, of course, the most important thing is delivering what you say you're going to deliver. So whenever a scope is defined clearly, that MVP that we say, that minimum important pain that needs to be solved, and then you have a plan of what you're going to deliver, and then we focus on delivering ruthlessly and relentlessly, actually, it's a better word, on it, to keep our promise. And I think that's what builds the trust.
And what about now that you have many customers? How do you prioritize product decisions right now? Do you have a product roadmap that you like religiously follow, or you can be flexible depending on? Please.
Yeah, I think we're still early. We don't have that many customers. We're not in the tens or hundreds of customers. We have some big, great logos, and we're onboarding some fast-growing startups as well. But we want to stay close to the customer. So all the founders now talk weekly with all of our customers, not only to collect the feedback, but also to get the pulse of how our software is performing and how the problem that we are solving is evolving for them and how important it is. And then we have weekly sprints. One of my co-founders, George, he's the CPO. He's fully responsible for that. We review the priorities on a daily basis. As co-founders, we have a daily stand-up every morning that we go through the most pressing things, the most important things for all of us, and product roadmap is a part of that. And then we align with the team every Monday. We do sprint planning, we deliver, then we wrap up on Fridays to see how we did, what is pending, and then we just kind of repeat that. But typically, the more we grow, not typically, but that is kind of like usual in the industry, but that's what we're going to follow as well. The more we grow, the more we try to identify patterns of requirements across our customers, and following the same approach. What is the smallest, well-defined hair on fire problem that we should be investing in solving it right now? And I think that's how at least we build our product step by step, and we try to align it with the vision that I just described in the beginning of the call as well.
That's excellent tactical advice that everybody, all of us should follow. Actually, thank you so much for sharing. And I want to ask you. You spent lots of time at. It was Confluent. You've seen other softwares before the generative AI explosion. Do you think that building a product and selling it has changed a lot as compared to the typical software as a service years? And I would like to know, how do you see how clients change their expectations? So, the product and the outcomes are more probabilistic. How you build your product so that you can also serve clients that have been educated in a different kind of software. What do you think is
I think it's a great question.
different?
And I think we haven't seen the effects yet of the change of SaaS sales cycles. We follow a different approach to what I've done in the past. Maybe it's a combination, but we focus a lot on value from upfront. We don't ask for large commitments from our customers. We ask for small commitments, maybe because of the maturity of our startup as well. Maybe this will change in the future, but we want to kind of like get the foot in the door, show the value, show very quickly what we're capable of doing. This addresses any competition concerns as well early on. And then if our customer does the job, so if the product does the job that we said that it does, and it does it, then the customer is impressed and they decide to double down on our software, and then they double, triple, or increase their contracts with us. And I think I call it value-based selling. That definition has been around for a while, and it has different aspects to it, but we focus immediately on delivering the first results so that then our champion can use that and go advocate for us to increase the footprint of their operations and our software within the organization.
Perfect. Alex, I know you have a hard stop in a few minutes, so I will try to wrap it up. I want to ask you a couple more questions, if that's possible. The one question is still tactical. Do you yourselves you have any favorite tools that you use in the production of your product? And if you want to share any kind of AI tools that you yourselves use.
We experiment with a lot. Our tech stack is pretty standard for a SaaS product. And then we use productivity tools. I use like the foundation models, GPT, Claude daily. It helps me a lot with refining my thoughts, refining my writing, but I always keep oversight and I put the final touches on everything that I do. It's not that we just hand off our work to an AI tool and it's done. I still don't believe in that personally. Call me old school maybe, but I think we're not there yet. And I don't know if I want us to be there anytime. I would never want to relinquish my thinking and my judgment. Our developers, they all use Cursor and they use, GitHub, we use Copilots, but it's also done in a way that we maintain control, like architectural decisions and product decisions and important code-based decisions are never offloaded to an AI tool, at least not right now. And what other tools? Obviously, I think something that again, this is speaking from my side as a non-technical commercial founder, right? And these are the apps that I use. I use a lot of note takers and recording tools. I think that really helps me capture the essence of the meetings way better than I used to when I was, just taking notes by myself. Obviously, I need to.
What's your favorite?
My favorite note taker.
Yeah,
I've tried them all, and
me too. But for like competition reasons, what's your
what I
go-to?
really like is Circle Back. That's what I'm using right now.
Which one? Sorry,
Circle Back.
Circle Back, which is the note taker that
I really
we met.
love how to the point it is, and it gives you the action items and break it down for every individual. It gives summaries of topics. I kind of like the structure. I think the founders have really thought through what great notes from a meeting should look like.
Nice. Good to know. We have tested Fireflies, Fathom, and Otter AI, so many others. We're trying to see what's best. Granola is one of the best ones that I have used. That's very interesting. But do you have a certain way how you test the new products out there, or it's naturally people bring it to the daily routine and it becomes a go-to tool? Also, do you expect the new hires to use tools, or you are tool agnostics?
Yeah, so we do need everybody to use Cursor or Copilot. We're using Cursor right now. This might change in the future because it does give a productivity gain. But then Dimi, the CTO and co-founder, he's responsible for the code base. He can very quickly and easily assess the quality of the code base, so we know if Cursor is being used or abused in a sense. And then we only use AI tools when we think that they're gonna bring a big improvement and productivity improvement in our daily lives. We debate about a lot. Actually, I was pushing the team the other day to introduce AI QA for our code base, kind of like introducing tests in our code base. And then that debate is ongoing still. But we know that, for example, for an automation to be introduced, that means that the manual work has been done to figure out what is going to be automated in the extent. Otherwise, just throwing an automation in the system without figuring out the workflow, it will only introduce more work and more noise. I think that's how we think about it.
And besides automations, have you introduced any autonomy? I mean, in terms of agents that you use, or this is an exploratory?
Not yet. I think we're very, very small. I do use some automation on my cold outreach and outbound, but everything is handcrafted, and I don't know. It's not agentic. We did have the opportunity to use some AI SDRs and all of that. I don't think we're at that stage. I don't know if we will ever be at that stage. I think that every single word that goes out to a customer needs to be well thought through, and at least at my stage and then my early stage sales team needs to have full control, oversight, and input into that. We're still exploring some solutions, but we will not pull the trigger and risk damaging our reputation with our customers before we are certain that whatever we do has the values and the principles we operate embedded into it.
Alex, I know you have so many other pieces of advice that I also learned from you in our interactions while in SF. I would like to close this discussion with one. I would like to share with you one piece of advice that you would like to give to any generative AI builders, either founders or employees, builders within their companies, until you meet them, hopefully at the summit in November. We have invited you and you have accepted it. Hopefully this is gonna happen. But yeah, what's one piece of advice you would like to share that you wish you had when you were starting your own
There is a few, and a lot of them, or most of them, come from mistakes I've done. So I think the most important one, if I were to select one, would be find a problem that you either have experienced or you had to solve in the past and build on this. It's very tempting for a founder to start with a cool technical solution and then be in search of a problem. So start with the problem, start with the pain, familiarize with the pain, go through the pain, and then figure out the best solution. That is probably the biggest advice that I always keep trying to remind myself, because I also get excited. I want to build a ton of things. And then I need to pull back, and my team many times pulls me back and like, does it make sense how we build this? And then go validate it.
I can totally relate to that. Thank you so much for everything, and thank you for staying a bit later than what we had agreed. We will see you in person in November in Athens, and keep building cool stuff, but also very useful stuff.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much for having me. Love the conversation.
Our pleasure. Bye.